Class 10th, the main course reader book, First Flight, Poetries, A Tiger in the Zoo by Leslie Norris. George Leslie Norris is an award winning Welsh poet and short story writer. He is considered one of the most important Welsh writers from the post war period, and his writings are basically based upon his experiences and his real life instincts from nature and wildlife, and his experiences as a teacher around the post war period. His writings has won various literary prizes and undergone various literary publications. He is considered a fine technician of literature. Thematic appreciation of the poem. This poem is going to express the agony and helplessness of a caged tiger that is living in the zoo. The poet is bringing a drastic comparison between what his life would have been had he been free in the wild and what his life is right now when he is a caged animal. The rhyming scheme of the poem. He stalks his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. We can see the line 1 stripes last word has one consonant sound. The line 2 cage and line 4 rage has one consonant sound, and line 3 quiet has one consonant sound. So the rhyming scheme of the poem is A B C B. Stanza 1. He stalks his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage on paths of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. Literary devices. The first device here is personification. This device has been used throughout the poem, where the poet is personifying the tiger as a person and he is using pronouns like he and his to address the tiger as if he is a real person. Next device is metaphor. The poet says he is on pads of velvet. He is comparing his paw pads, the foot pads of his paw, to be as soft as the touch of velvet fabric. So, this is a metaphor. There is enjambment throughout these lines. He stalks his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage. This is an English sentence broken down into chunks to match the rhyme of the poem. And the poet has used imagery. This device has also been used throughout the poem, where the poet is trying to create the image of a wild tiger just to bring out the comparison between the wild and the caged tiger. So he is creating an imagery of how the tiger would have been had he been free in the wild. There is another device in this poem, which is in this specific stanza, which is oxymoron. Oxymoron is a device where two completely contradicting words are put together, which under normal circumstances have different and opposite meanings, but they are put together just to bring out the image of how contrasting a person's state or emotion is. Here, quiet rage is an oxymoron. Rage means anger, and when we are angry, we generally shout or howl, or our voice pitch increases. So, we are not quiet in rage. We are not silent when we are angry. So, this phrase of being quiet in rage, being silent when you are angry, is an oxymoron where the poet is adding two different circumstantial words together to bring out a new meaning. So the tiger is presenting quiet rage. He's very angry inside, but still he's holding himself in a quiet poise. Let's go to the literal meaning of stanza 1. He stalks his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage. So the poet is describing his physical appearance of how his body has very vivid stripes of black on the background of orange, and he's walking very slowly in his cage, taking few steps at a time. This is depicting that the space for him is very limited. It's very small and congested. So he is trying to take a stroll, but it's very short walk. It's a very small place to move around on paths of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. So the tiger walks very quietly because the footpads of his paws are very soft. When they hit the ground, they do not make any kind of sound or noise. So he walks with very silent movement. So he is walking with his velvet paws, his soft paws on the ground of the cage, but he is very angry and he is also helpless, so he's not able to show out his anger by doing anything. So he is just poising himself in that anger very quietly, and he's just moving around taking a stroll in his cage. Next stanza. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through the long grass, near the water hole where the plump deer pass. Poetic devices, there is enjambment, as we can see. There is alliteration, plump pass, where the same consonant sound of P has been used. And of course, there is imagery, where again the poet is presenting a different picture of how he would have been in wild, hiding in the long grass just as a lurking shadow. So there is imagery. Let's go to the literal meaning. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through the long grass. So he is not supposed to be moving around in the cage. He is contradicting stanza 1 and bringing out the comparison of how he would have been when he was in the forest. So he would be hiding around in the long, tall grass, which is also called as tiger grass, the favorite hiding place of the tiger. So he would be hiding silently in the large, tall grass, and he would be slowly moving himself through the grass to make his passage near the water hole where the plum deer pass. So he would be approaching the water hole where the deers come to drink water. The tiger slowly approaches this water hole and just tries to attack and feed on the plump deer passing around through the water hole. So that would have been his actual life had he been in the wild. So the poet is bringing that comparison in stanza 1 and stanza 2, where he says he's caged in that small little congested cage, and rather he could have been just moving around in the wild. Stanza 3. But he's locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind the bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. There is personification again in this line. The poet has used pronouns like he and his to personify the tiger. And there is alliteration behind bars, B, B, same consonant sound of the alphabet B. Let's go to the literal meaning. Now, the poet is emphasizing the status of the tiger, and he is re-quoting himself by saying that unfortunately he could not have done what he just described in stanza 2 of hunting a deer because he is locked in a concrete cell. But he's locked in concrete cell, his strength behind the bars. So he's locked there, he's caged there, and his all strength and all of his masculinity is just restricted to that particular place. So he cannot be that wild forest tiger who goes and hunts animals, stalking the length of his cage and ignoring visitors. He is helpless. He cannot do anything. He cannot go hunting. He cannot feed, and he can not have his actual life of as a hunter. So he's just moving around in his cage, and there are people outside the cage who are seeing him, who are visiting him, and who are drawing his attention. But he's just ignoring that because he is not interested in being around human. He is interested in being in his actual real life. But he is caged and he is helpless, so he's just moving around quietly, unable to do anything, and trying to ignore the people who are stalking him outside. Next stanza. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. There is enjambment in these lines, as we can see. There is alliteration. He hears, same consonant sound of H. There is also, again, personification, as we have discussed. It is continuously used throughout the poem. So let's go to the literal meaning. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars. The last sound that he hears before he goes to sleep at night or before he retires for the day is the sound of the patrolling cars moving around on the streets of the city where he's caged in the zoo. So instead of the quiet of the forest and the jungle where it just settles down at the night and there is just tickling sound of the crickets and the insects in the night, what he hears is the car sounds, the honking sounds of the car. So again, there is a drastic difference. We can see what he would have experienced if he would have been in wild and what he is experiencing right now when he is in cage. And he stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. tiger eyes are very, very beautiful, specifically in the dark because they glow. So his brilliant eyes are again helpless, and he could do nothing. He cannot experience the joy of freedom if he was in jungle. So all he can do is just look at the sky, which is the only natural exposure he has, and see the brilliant stars with his brilliant eyes. That is the only natural feeling that he has, to see the sky, because he cannot experience anything else apart from that cage that he is in.